Hello, everybody. We are going to study Renaissance art in Spain, architecture, mainly. And as you can see here, we are going to divide this artistic movement into parts, plateresque and full Renaissance. We can divide, as other movements, we can divide Renaissance in three different parts: plateresque, full Renaissance, and transition to Baroque. We can say something like the manierism. In Spain, it's strange because Renaissance is it's going to last a little time, not like other movements like Baroque or, for example, Gothic. We said Gothic is going to last more than 3 centuries. But Renaissance in Spain, we can talk about 60 years, no more than this. So sometimes dates are the same for one part of Renaissance and the other. The first part, the plateresque, we can talk about, I don't know, 1500, until 5030. More or less. But remember, sometimes we can find dates of full Renaissance into plateresque, and sometimes full Renaissance into manierism. We will study all these things. One of the principal topics of plateresque is that plateresque is more a way to decorate, more than a way to construct, So we can't talk in plateresque about covers, for example, vaults, domes, or things like this, because plateresque is only a way to decorate. One of the things that we can find during plateresque is this, the grotto. You can see grotto is when we have the shaft of a column, the shaft of a pilaster, decorated with vegetation, with naked figures, with I don't know, pots like this, or sometimes another animals or things. But if we have the shaft decorated with figures like this, pilasters or columns, we are in this moment. We are during the plateresque. Plateresque include a lot of decoration. So decoration with shields, for example, something we saw during 15th century, and also this part, vegetation, and also naked figures. Naked figures is important because it's something that they are going to copy from Italy. Remember that Renaissance in Italy is different than Spain. Renaissance lasted a lot in Italy, and it's going to be so short in Spain. It's the difference between one country and the other. So remember these grottos that we will see in different places. For example, in this one, El Colegio de Santa Cruz de Valladolid now is part of the university in this city, and it's difficult to see, but we have these grottos in this part. Okay. Well, more important is the buildings that we need to study in the city of Salamanca, because Salamanca is like a paradise for plateresque architecture. For example, this house that we have here, the House of the Dead, Casa de las Muertes in Spanish. You can see the date is 1512. We don't know exactly. There's a story who talk about a husband who discovered his wife cheating him, and he's going to kill everybody inside the house. But I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about this story, this legend. No, the real thing, one of the things, is that we have a school here in this part of the window. And this school, guys, is a symbol of death, and it's gonna be used a lot during in the 16th century. So probably we associate this symbol, this school, with death, and that's why we have the name of this house. Okay. Look at this, for example, this part of the pilaster, this is a pilaster, this is another pilaster, are decorated. The shaft is decorated, and that's one of the symbols of plateresque architecture. In this house was living an architect. Juan de Álava is the name of the architect and probably the constructor of this house. He's an architect who worked a lot in the city of Salamanca. Look at the symbols that we have here: vegetation, shield of the family, naked figures. Okay, naked figures. And I told you it's a part of this way, this path to recognize the plateresque architecture because of the decoration. We have a compass here because a compass is the symbol of the architects at this time. And okay, you can see this compass in this place. The world living the family of this architect. No, okay. Look at the schools also that I told you, and probably is the name of the house because of these schools that we have aquí below under the windows. Under the windows. Okay, no, we are not going to study this. Yes, this one is important. This is the main facade of the university in Salamanca. One thing that you can appreciate here, for example, is that inside is a Gothic structure. You can see the windows, these pointed arches. It's a Gothic structure. The only part that we have with this plateresque decoration is the main facade. If you enter inside the building, you can find it's a structure of the end of the Gothic. But this part is Renaissance. This decoration. Look, for example, how there's a part without decoration, there's another part with a lot of decoration. There's a contrast between one and the other. Remember, for example, the influence of the Muslim decoration. In 1492, the Catholic people enter in the city of Granada, and they are going to be so impressed with the decoration in this building, and sometimes apply similar things, for example, the contrast between part decorated, part not decorated, in their buildings. In this facade, in this building, facade of the University of Salamanca, we have different stories. We are going to talk about different stories. But look at this structure. We have 1, 2, 3 different bodies, and the first two are divided in 5, we can say, streets, like this, decorated with vegetation and different symbols, shields, and other things, another people that we will talk right now. And then the third part of this facade includes allegorical figures and a figure of a pope. That okay, don't worry, I will talk about this. Okay, so here you have. Let's talk, for example, because we can make two different readings of this main facade. One is a historical reading, and another one is a mythological or maybe allegorical reading. In this part, you can see this one, this symbol that we have in this part of the facade, is a symbol of the Catholic monarchs. The Catholic monarchs, so important. They were dead when this building is gonna be built, but the university, the city of Salamanca, recognized the importance of these monarchs, and that's why appear here Ferdinand, Fernando, and Isabel. And look at this, because around this circle, what we have is a sentence in Greek, in classic Greek. Okay, because remember, this is a university. Latin is a classical language. Greek is a classical language. Spanish, no. Spanish is something, is a vulgar language, no? A vulgar language who came from Latin. That's why they are using, this language, this classical language. Okay. In the central part, we have different shields and representing the kingdoms that belong to Spain at this time. This is an eagle, symbol of Castilla y León, eagle with 2 heads, which is the symbol of the Spanish Empire. And we have figures, for example, the king at this moment, who is Carlos I, Charles I, and his wife Isabel de Portugal. Isabel de Portugal. Okay. But as you can see, we are talking about the history of Spain, no? History of Spain with the Catholic monarchs, the king at this moment, the queen, so important too, and the shields with the different kingdoms of Spain. In the third part, what we have is a different way to read the main facade. The Pope in the center appear as a very important person, because the Pope is like it's a person, or you need the sign of the Pope to make different things in Europe in or during Middle Age. If you don't have the sign of the approval of the Pope, probably you couldn't do different things. For example, the matrimony of the Catholic monarchs needed the approval of the Pope. If he said no, this matrimony never took part. Never took part. This is okay. I'm talking about this because the foundation of different universities during Middle Age depends on the Pope. So we have a letter, we have a paper signed by the Pope saying that Salamanca, this city, it's a place that had a university, or that could start a university at this time. The foundation of the University of Salamanca is 1218. So this main facade is recognizing the Pope as an important person, because, as I told you, is the person who approved, who gave the approval to this university. We have the symbol of the Pope, this kind of hat, and the keys. The keys of Saint Peter, and here is representing teaching a lesson. No, imagine that he is a teacher and is teaching a lesson to different students that are hearing him. Okay, that's the idea. Okay, I want to focus now in these figures that we have here, and this one naked figures. I told you is one of the symbols of the plateresque, and also the decoration, vegetation, and things like this. Okay, naked figures are representing different mythological people. This one is Hercules. Hercules, you know, is a very good person. We can associate with Jesus Christ. He's gonna save people and he's helping people all the time. It's a very good example, a very good example of person. As they were so machist, you know, Venus is here. Venus, it's a very bad symbol at this time because it's a symbol of sin, you know. It's the goddess of beauty. Everybody wants to sin with her, so it's a bad model. And in one of the parts of this facade, what we can find is a school, and over this school we have a frog, over the school. The frog is a symbol of luxury. What happened, guys? At this time there were 6,000 students in the University of Salamanca. We are talking about 16th century. All of them men, all of them with possibilities and money, and they are spending the money with sometimes prostitutes or sometimes things that they don't needed to do it. That's the idea. So the facade of the university is trying to advise the students that finally, if they were committing all these sins, the end is the death, and then they are going to hell. No, they are going to hell. They needed to be good people, you know. Good people not commit this sin, because this sin is carry them to death and finally to hell. No, that's the symbol. This is not the only time that we can see frogs, and there are we preserve different sculptures with frogs, for example, in your eyes, because you can sin with your eyes, not only with your body. Sin with your eyes. If I look at any other person, any woman, for example, with desire, with desire. Okay, that's a sin for the Catholic religion. And then there are other sculptures during Middle Age with frogs, for example, in eyes, in breast, or in the sex. In the sex. Remember, it's associated with this, with lust, with lust, and this is. It seems that it was a real problem at this time in 16th century in the city of Salamanca with all these students, no? So the facade is trying to advise the students. So difficult to see this school. It's in this part of the facade, so little. And no, for tourists it's like a game to find or to discover what is the frog in all this decoration that we have in this facade. Okay, another buildings in the city of Salamanca. This is the patio de Escuelas Menores. It's part of the university too. You can see it's a courtyard, and to enter in this courtyard we have middle point arches. Again, we have the symbol of the Spanish Empire. You remember, an eagle with two heads. And if you enter in this part, we can find something like this with this plateresque decoration that I told you, with this, for example, the shaft of these columns decorated with this vegetation and other figures that we just talked. This is a convent, San Esteban. Also, it's in Salamanca, in this city. It's similar to the main facade of the university. The difference is the figures we have here are all of them related with religious things, because it's a convent, very big. This church is the same. The church inside is Gothic, but the main facade is Renaissance. It's the beginning of Renaissance. It's the plateresque, divided in different parts. We have figures of different saints here, and in the center, as the church is dedicated to Saint Stephen, is the death of Saint Stephen, what we have here. He was stoned and is the first martyr of the Catholic Church, Saint Stephen. So young, so appear without birth, Okay, more figures, and a figure of Jesus Christ crucified with the Virgin and Saint John, something that we saw in another places. But it's more interesting, this part, this detail that you have here in another plateresque building in the city of Salamanca. Bueno, this is another palace, Palacio de la Salina, in Salamanca too. Rodrigo Gil de Ontañón is an architect who worked not in plateresque. This is full Renaissance. Look at the arches, middle point arches over columns, and then a body of windows, and then it seems like a balcony. It's a balcony we saw typical from this architect, Rodrigo Gil de Ontañón, I told you, who worked in the middle of 16th century in Salamanca. Remember, this is a full Renaissance work, not plateresque, in the city of Salamanca. Okay, this is the courtyard. If we enter in the building, it's a strange courtyard because it seems like a Gothic part, this one. It seems like a Renaissance, full Renaissance part, this one. And in the other one, instead of arches or columns, what we have is this part to support the weight of another gallery, with decorated with different figures. So this part seems Gothic, this part seems full Renaissance, this part seems or maybe close to Manierism, or the end of the Renaissance, with these beautiful figures, and remember, this part is only to sustain the weight of this gallery that is over it. Well, another important palace. This is more important than any other, than the others, the other one that we just studied right now. This is the Palacio Monterrey, also in Salamanca. Rodrigo Gil de Ontañón is the architect, and it's 1550. It's full Renaissance. This is not a plateresque building. Maybe you can see there's a difference because, for example, in the main facade of the university we have a lot of decoration, with vegetation, naked figures, shields, or things like this. And look at this part of the palace, and we don't have this decoration. No, we preserve some shield, for example, in the corners here, and maybe this way to decorate the top of the building, but there's no more decoration than this. Look at the windows, so typical from Rodrigo Gil de Ontañón, or these balconies, middle point arches and a little balcony. It's a way to decorate that is going to be followed by a lot of artists, for example, in the beginning of 20th century. Remember, we saw the archaeological museum in Sevilla is so similar to this one, to the Palacio de Monterrey in Salamanca. Why? Because the architect Aníbal González is copying this work in this city. But there are other buildings in Salamanca and in other places who copy this structure for a palace. This is a palace right now. Okay, another place in Salamanca. The architect is Diego de Siloé. This is full Renaissance, not plateresque. Okay, 1550. Diego de Siloé, because maybe you remember, because we talk about his father Gil de Siloé when we study 15th century sculpture. And we study an altarpiece from Gil de Siloé, a tomb from the parent of Isabel la Católica and the brother of Isabel la Católica. No? So we study his father. So his son, Diego de Siloé, probably studied in Italy, and then he returned to Spain and is going to participate in different works in Spain. This is not the only one we are going to study. In our next video, we have another work for Diego de Siloé that maybe you saw because you were in Granada, I think, and the Cathedral of Granada, it's a work by Diego de Siloé. Okay, the most interesting thing here in this Colegio de Fonseca is the courtyard. The courtyard with a well. You can see a well because a well is something so typical in the city of Salamanca, and it's a muslin. We can say it's a muslin. Remember, it's a muslin. It's a muslin topic that appear also in another buildings in the city of Salamanca. Courtyard with a well, and then what we have here is middle point arches, and then a second body. You remember with these ogee arches? These ogee arches. It's like a middle point arch with a lot of weight over it. This is what we have, and this is the structure. So beautiful. This building in Sound now it's a hotel. This place in the city, and then we are going to finish today studying this building that probably you know, guys, because it's the Ayuntamiento de Sevilla. Is not the main facade, it's the back part of the Ayuntamiento. It's the part that we can see in Plaza de San Francisco. The architect is Diego de Riaño, 1526, so 1526, and this is a plateresque work. Okay, this is a plateresque work because you can see, as I told you, that the shaft of the pilasters are decorated with vegetation, and also we have naked figures in this building too. Naked figures in this building. Maybe in the corners we have angels who are sustaining, I don't know, like medals or circles or sculptures or things like this. Look at the columns too, because the columns also, the shaft of the columns are decorated, no? And this is the most interesting thing, one of the things that is going to describe the plateresque decoration. Remember, vegetation, sometimes shields. We have the shield of the city of Sevilla in the city hall, in this place. Do you remember the shield of the city, Nodo? With this work who appear in a lot of places in the city of Sevilla, and naked figures, figures of angels sustaining, as I told you, circles or sculptures or things like this. Diego de Riaño is an important architect who worked in the city of Sevilla. Okay, this is our first part of Renaissance architecture. As I told you, we have another video with the second part of in this style. Okay guys, I'll see you in next video. Bye.